This happened when I was 16 years old, and even now, years later, I still feel a knot tighten in my stomach whenever I think about it. I was still in high school then, still living under the rules that come with being a teenager who doesn't have a car and doesn't really get a choice about how they get around. If I wanted to go somewhere, I either depended on my parents or I walked. That night, walking seemed harmless enough, normal even. It was a weekend, and my friend Haley was having a small get-together at her house. Her parents were out of town, which already made it feel like one of those nights that carried a sense of freedom we didn't often get. My mom drove me there herself. Haley lived close, only about a 3-minute drive or a 20-minute walk. So my mom wasn't worried. She was single at the time and had plans of her own that evening. So before dropping me off, she told me that if she stayed out late, I'd need to walk home or find a ride. At the time, that felt reasonable. When I arrived, a few of my girlfriends were already there. Tina, Courtney, and Belle. We hung out in Haley's backyard for a few hours, sitting on patio furniture, laughing, talking about school, boys, teachers we hated, and the usual teenage nonsense. The night felt warm and comfortable, the kind where time slips by without you noticing. Then the boys showed up. They arrived unexpectedly, and by unexpectedly, I mean Haley hadn't mentioned a word about inviting them. There were 4 of them, all from our school. The second I recognized one of them, my mood shifted completely. There was history there, annoying, uncomfortable history that I didn't want to revisit. Haley knew that. She definitely knew that. And yet, she had invited him anyway, apparently thinking she was being clever. Later, she admitted she thought maybe forcing us into the same space would somehow make us work things out. It didn't. The entire atmosphere changed. Conversations felt forced. Laughter sounded. I could feel irritation bubbling up inside me, and I didn't trust myself not to say something I'd regret. After a while, I decided I'd had enough. I told Haley I was leaving. She tried to stop me, but I was already pulling my hoodie on. I walked out, texting her angrily as soon as I stepped onto the sidewalk. She apologized over and over, telling me to come back, saying she didn't mean for it to go badly. Eventually, I forgave her, but forgiveness didn't mean I wanted to return. I just wanted to go home. The neighborhood was quiet. Too quiet, maybe, but at the time, I didn't think much of it. Streetlights lined the roads, casting yellow pools of light on the pavement. Houses sat dark and silent, most people already inside for the night. I walked for about 5 minutes before I slowed down. Something felt off. At first, it was subtle. A sound that didn't quite match my footsteps. When I slowed, the sound slowed too. When I stopped completely, it stopped. I turned around. A man stood behind me on the sidewalk. He looked middle-aged, wearing a hoodie with the hood pulled up. His hands were tucked into the front pocket, and his face was partially shadowed by the streetlight behind him. But I could still see his mouth. He was smiling. How you doing? He asked casually, like we were old acquaintances passing each other on the street. I froze for half a second before forcing myself to act normal. Hi, I said, then turned and kept walking. This was a suburban neighborhood. People walked at night. I told myself not to be dramatic, but my body didn't listen. After another few minutes, I glanced back again. He was still there. Same distance, same pace. A slow unease settled in my chest. I pulled my phone out and started texting my friends, telling them I thought someone was following me. I tried to keep my steps steady, refusing to look scared. That's when he spoke again. Isn't it such a nice night? He said, nice night. I love this weather. Every instinct screamed at me not to engage, but fear made me polite. Yeah, I replied. I walked faster. The path home wasn't straight. I had to turn onto several intersecting roads, and with every turn I made, I hoped, prayed, that he wouldn't follow. He did. Every time I looked back, he was there. A little closer each time. Are you from around here? He asked next, his voice light, almost amused. No, I said firmly. He chuckled like I just said something funny. My heart was pounding so hard I felt it in my throat. I started texting everyone I knew, asking if anyone could come get me. Ironically, the one person who replied immediately was the boy I had been trying so hard to avoid that night. He told me he was on his way. Relief washed over me, but it didn't last. The man spoke again, his voice lowered this time. Hi, sir. You shouldn't be walking alone so late. I didn't answer. I focused on keeping my breathing steady, my footsteps even. I told myself not to run. Running would make it obvious. Running would make it worse. We were only a few blocks from my house when I heard a car pull up behind me. I turned, expecting to see my friend. Instead, the man stopped walking. He stepped back, his smile fading as headlights illuminated him. Without saying a word, he turned and disappeared down a side street. My friend pulled up seconds later, yelling my name through the open window. I practically ran to the car, shaking so badly I could barely open the door. I didn't cry until we were driving away. Even now, I still wonder what would have happened if I hadn't left Haley's house, or if no one had answered my texts, or if I decided to run instead of walking calmly. I don't know what that man wanted, but I know one thing for sure. He wasn't just walking home.